You can all hear me, please. Thank you very much. Good morning to
Okay.
everyone again.
Good morning.
Yeah. So I'd like to also welcome us to another session of this uh, important life-changing and transforming program. This makes this, I think, the fourth session for us. The first session we had Mrs. Ibijake, where she talks about the mindset. The second section we had Mrs. Tosin, where she talks about the importance of communication and networking for us and how it can be beneficial to what we are learning and our life in general. And today it is with a singular honor to also introduce or welcome Mr. David uh, Oyawoye. Sorry, hopefully I pronounced the name correctly. I have also been privileged to be part of his session, but mine was a physical session at the time, which was also held by the foundation as Future Map Foundation through the Design Thinking Workshop, which was, I think, 2 to 3 days workshop, which he was the lead or the facilitator for that particular program. So I am here personally as a student of his. I've also benefit from his wealth of experience, his knowledge, and I believe maybe he has people like me across the country who have over the years in one way or the other have a contact with him at the virtue of what he does, and I think we'll be learning so much about that today. So it is with this privilege that I welcome him this very morning, and I would like to read a little short bio of Mr. David. Mr. David Oyawoye, sorry if I hope I pronounce the name, is a brand strategist, product thinker, and a designer working at the intersection of brand, product, and experience. He leads brands, marketing, and product design at, at Adverclean, a financial technology company, expanding access to credit, digital banking, and financial infrastructure across Africa. He's also the founder of Boxlex, a venture studio and experience design company built on belief that brands and products should be created with people at the center of it. And I think basically that is what design thinking is all about. And I think we'll be finding out much about that later in the session. As a design thinker, facilitator, Mr. David helps founders, teams, and institutions move from very good ambitions to a clear strategy, strong narrative, and thoughtful execution. His conviction is simple: we are all creators and worker. We are all creators, and the works. Sorry, please, hope you can hear me. So we are all, I hope we can hear me, please. Thank you. And the work is to make things more, to mean something, to design the right thing and design it right. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please retire. The distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please with a round of applause, I would like us to welcome Mr. David this very morning to this session.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That was quite an interesting read of a bio. To be honest, if I'll summarize it into anything, to just be my entire career has been very simple. To just ensure that we help people build the right thing and build it right. And I think that's a very good place to start. But before I start, let me start with some housekeeping, right? I know how virtual sessions can be. I'm not used to teaching this or taking it virtually. It's typically in person, right? So if by any chance, at any point in time, you are able to put yourself in a shape where you can turn on your video, I think that would be very important. I think my video will be on hopefully almost throughout. So at any point in time, yes, maybe if you're still in transit going somewhere, or if you're maybe you just got out of getting ready or something, it would be nice if at some point we can turn on our videos. It makes a very interactive session. I'm sure by now you can see my screen. So what I'm also doing is I'm literally just trying to capture the people in the room. So you let me just capture as much as I can. I've captured most people. If by now you see that your name isn't there, I think it's a good time for you to notify. Just unmute your mic and tell me that your name isn't there, but also introduce yourself. So I think I'll start from the top here. Abdurrahman, please, do you mind introducing yourself? Just very briefly, who you are, what you do as well. So we have an Abdurrahman, and I'm sure he's still on the call. Abdurrahman Ida. Okay, if Abdurrahman is not available, Al Hassan. Okay, you're in a noisy place, that's okay. Al Hassan, you can go next, please. Okay, you can put that in the comments. Al Hassan, Oluwatoyin, Mohammed, anyone who wants to go first as well.
Hello, good morning, sir. My name is Ghazali. My name is Muhammad Ghazali Bashar. I'm a data analyst, data scientist, and it is very nice to meet you, sir. Thank you.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. Someone said I can hear the speaker. Am I audible? Am I not audible to someone? Okay, well, we can thank you so much for your introduction. We can move to, there's a second Mohammed in the room, there's an Oluwatoyin. Once I hear from like 5-6 people, then I think I'll be confident enough to go ahead. Yeah, and one of the reasons why I like to, put people's names on the board is that all through our presentation together, hopefully between like a 30 minutes to like 45 minutes, where anybody who gets to participate, I take notes, and you see it on the screen. We take sticky notes, we paste it, because I think what design thinking is, or building products or brands for people, is not something we can cover in 30 minutes, 1 hour. So one of the things I like to do is to try to get the most participatory people, and I'm able to work with them maybe over the next 4 to 6 weeks, in case they have personal projects as well. So obviously we can't do that for everybody. So I would typically do that for the most participatory people. I think there's someone who I'm familiar with. Mazino. Okay, please go ahead. Okay, you can go ahead. And after that, we can have the next gentleman that raised up his hand. Then after that, we can have Mazino. Yeah.
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
I don't know, am I
Yes.
Mazino or is there another
Oh
Mazino?
yeah. Okay, you're Mazino actually. So yeah, you're Mazino.
Okay, because I'm also okay to me.
Yeah, so I'll just leave it as Mazino.
Hi, good morning. My name is Zino, and I'm a project manager at Callbox Solutions. Nice to meet you again.
Again. I know we met during the physical boot camp. Yeah. Okay. So thanks a lot. I think over to the gentleman called. I think I'm trying to capture Zuli. Okay, just go ahead, please. Zulia Dani. So I'll add that to the board. Please introduce yourself, and after you, I think we can go ahead. You raised your hand. Do you want to say something, Mr. Mohammed Zed?
Yeah, hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
So my name is Zuliadeni Muhammad Aminu. So I just see that you did not write my name. That is why I just let me talk. So I'm a data scientist that I have about 5 years of experience. I start from Undena where we solve problem regarding agriculture. So my experience in AI deep into agriculture and healthcare. And also I participate in international challenge for Mikai. So we publish a paper for brain tumor segmentation. So, and also we are taking another project at Americano Teaching Hospital where we are developing an AI system for patients. So that is brief of me. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. I think the last person I would like to call their attention is the person behind Brave Minds. Yes, so please let us know your real name, your government's name, not your CSC name, and then we can proceed. And I'm still waiting for cameras to come on. Well, I will start regardless. Brave Minds. Okay, if we don't have Brave Minds, I think we'll proceed. So yes, thanks again for joining. And our session hopefully will run for. Is anyone speaking? I can hear the speaker. I can't hear the speaker. Okay, I'll just leave a comment for Brave Minds. Okay. All right. So we're done with the major housekeeping. We're going to begin now, and you would have to forgive me. For some reason, it seems there's a flu going around in town, so my voice might be funny, and hopefully I don't have to take any breaks in between. So our talk today is very simple. It's about creating with people at the very center. I know we have a lot of data scientists in the room, product managers, most likely maybe some design individuals who have entrepreneurs. But one thing that we find is a common thing is whatever you're doing, whatever service you're offering, whatever product you have, whatever company you're working in, the most important thing is that you're doing it for people. Yes, people profits, sometimes planet prosperity, but the very beginning is people. And the reason why you have to put people at the center is in a world where we end up saying that we can work so hard to design things that look beautiful, that function beautiful, but miss the mark when it comes to problem solving. So that is why we're having this particular session together, and I will begin. I will try to zoom in a little bit, and again, a little bit of housekeeping. If there are any questions or things that you want to ask in between the session, you can also just unmute. I think it's supposed to be like we are all in the same room, and I will be able to take notes, pick who is speaking. For example, if it is Ebenezer, I'll pick Ebenezer and I'll write his note and I'll put it on the board. So I want this to be extremely interactive. All right, so a good place to start is to just, as an intro, is to speak about how much we are all creators. And I think in When We Should Perform, I've said this time over time again, even in like the previous video or some of the things I've said in the previous boot camp. And the truth is that we're all creators. And one of the most rewarding things that we ever do, and we've seen quite a lot of us in this room, we said what we do is that we can to build something and put it out in the world. So in one way, shape, or form, we're all creators. Yes, sometimes we are technical creators, we're coders, we're developers, we're product managers, we're designers, we're business individuals or business specialists, etc. But the truth is that at the bottom of it all is that we're all creators. And even though some of us build physical things, some of us build digital products, one thing is common. You always have to put people at the very center. So I think the very first thing we should establish is that great products are not just things that will tick boxes. Right? It has to go deeper, and that's what design thinking is about. We have to solve across whatever industry we are in. We have to solve in a way that solves problems people don't even realize they had. I was hearing the individual that was saying that he's a data scientist and does XYZ. I might not know that I have a problem that a data scientist can solve, but if you spend time with me and understand what are my dreams, hopes, aspirations, and with empathy, you will be able to uncover, what David needs and use your competency as a tool to solve those problems. And that's what design thinking promises us to do. So one of the things I would like us to do now is, for anybody who's able to participate, is in one line, in your field, what are you creating right now? Or what do you want to create? Can you just think about it? Let's take about 20, 30 seconds, think about it. And if anybody wants to just share something about what they're building, or what they're currently doing, what are you creating, even though you are a developer, you are an analyst, a business analyst, what are you trying to create right now? Because I'm believing that is why we're in the room in the first place. Anyone, before I go into the next page? So, and this is just our welcome page. All right. Anyone wants to tell us what they are currently building? What do you want to create? Remember, I have an offer on the line for individuals who participate, and where we can most likely spend more time outside this engagement together. While I'm waiting, I would also then give you a little bit of a story. I've personally been part of a team that should have built what MoneyPoint is today. But then the problem is, we went ahead and built this great retail product, amazing, great capabilities, inventory, payments, storefronts, but we missed one important thing: instant confirmation. And that is what MoneyPoint ended up bringing to the market with that sound: instant confirmation. And just because if we are taking time to understand what the customer really wanted, as much as they wanted the fancy things, they also wanted something extremely simple: instant confirmation. Today, that product is not in existence. It failed. It shouldn't have failed if we had paid attention to the customer. So my question again is, what are you creating right now? And it's fine if nobody wants to tell us what they're creating. I will still move into the next page. So now, we've established that a lot of things will fail.
Hello.
Yes, please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Oh, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm Securat Jimo. So I'm a product designer. So currently I am working on a product named CarePath. So CarePath is a mobile app that will allow users to be able to access healthcare facilities in a more easy way, and also to make their visitation to the hospital is something more easy for them. Like, take for example, when like in the hospital, one of the problems people face there is the fact that they wait for there's a long queue waiting. There's a long queue waiting, and sometimes they don't even know why they are waiting. They don't know what is the reason, and with some other problem, I came up with CarePath to provide a solution where they can actually join queue from home before they get to the hospital. So, and some other features.
Interesting. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I think that's fine. We don't have to get into the features. And it's just, I wanted us to stay on the problem. And that is another lesson for design thinking is, a lot of times we're very quick to talk about the solution we have to a problem. And I'm glad that you spoke about the problem, but design thinking tells us to hold on solution and deep down and dig deeper on the problem, right? So just one last thing. What do you say the name of the product is?
CarePath.
Please, can you spell that? Care what?
CarePath. CARE.
Okay.
PATH.
care path. Okay, that's lovely.
Yes.
All right, so we put that as what you're building, and we can always come back to it, even in and outside of this conversation. So thanks for sharing that. All right. Right. Any other person? Maybe just one person, and if not, I can proceed as well. All right. So I'll be proceeding now. Now, just based on the story I'd mentioned as well, that we had developed this lovely solution, great solution that we wanted to go raise money for. But at the end of the day, we missed out the most simple thing, that sound of confirmation, the instant confirmation. And the funny thing is, we already had the technology to do instant confirmation because we had a bank that already had instant confirmation built in, but we just failed to bring that into the retail product, which makes us really just nail the truth. And the truth is what you see on the screen, is that a beautiful solution to a wrong problem is absolutely still the wrong solution. And that is what design thinking helps us do, is to first of all design the right thing so that we can design it right. What does design the right thing versus designing it right mean? I would have liked to ask the room, but it seems people are still quite cold this morning. Designing the right thing ensures that we are solving the real, true problems that need to be solved. I don't know if anybody has ever seen the image of an iceberg where what you see on top sometimes is only just 10 or 20%, or what is on the bottom is 80 or 90%, as the case is. If you're not solving the right problems, you then see that you've wasted so much time, put in so much effort, and yet you are solving a problem that is not worth solving. I once had a conversation with a venture capitalist, and I asked him, what is the most important thing you do when picking the right people to invest in? He says people who have a unique perspective of a problem that is worth solving. And since then, it's been making me think that I never want to solve a problem that is never worth solving. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that many teams are very good at designing things right. Great design, great website, great well-designed app, nice back-end infrastructure, nice front-end infrastructure, great data models. But then when it comes to the point where they make things just beautiful, functional, and technically sound, but without solving the right problems, excellence now becomes a waste. And we then see that we have beautiful solutions that for a problem that is not worth solving, like I mentioned. So design thinking helps us to first of all design the right thing and ensure that that thing that you've chosen to design, you're designing it right. Now, going to the next section of this, you then realize that design thinking is not just a process to follow. And that is where a lot of times we get it wrong. If you go to Google and type design thinking, you'll see empathize, define. And while all those things are great and they are true, and a lot of them have, their use, we first of all have to understand that it is first of all a mind frame. It is a mindset. Design thinking is both a mindset and a method, but a lot of times we focus on the method. For the mindset, we see some soft skills required: empathy, curiosity, humility, because sometimes it takes humility to sit with someone who is describing you their problems while you think you already know the solution to their problems. But design thinking says suspend the judgment. Suspend your judgment or your predisposition of what the solution is and stay in the problem. And I find that human beings, we find it very difficult to stay in the problem. And it's not exactly a bad thing. It's just a trait that sometimes as designers or as solution experts or solution architects, we have to be able to dial back sometimes. So basically, like I said, design thinking is both a mindset. It requires, from the mindset point of view, empathy, curiosity, collaboration, experimentation, and a lot of courage. But then as a method as well, it is a way of moving from assumption to insight. So, and sometimes, let's not get it wrong, assumptions are good sometimes. Assumptions are very good because sometimes you might not be able to solve a problem if you do not have predisposed assumptions. For example, you can make an assumption that people do not, and in the previous bootcamp that we had, I think sometime this time last year in Abuja, we took a case study of people who have voters apathy, so people who do not want to vote. And an assumption we came into that conversation with is that people do not care about voting. And at the end of the day, when we went through our entire design thinking framework, we then found out that, and we spoke to real people, real individuals, we then found out that the problem is not that people do not care about the country, or neither do they want to vote. The problem is they find the process extremely daunting, and they also believe that their votes don't count. The second interpretation, we had to get through that by speaking to people, even as simple as not knowing where or how to go about it, or not being educated. So we were able to refine the brief that we had gotten. So like we said, it takes courage. I beg your pardon, I'm on the method now. So it's a way of moving from assumptions to insights. And the only way you will get insights is by speaking with people. And speaking with people requires humility and courage, experimentation as well. Design thinking will also then help you go from insights to ideas. A lot of times we go from ideas straight. Like, oh my God, this is the idea I have. I want to build an app that will reduce the queue times in hospitals. Great idea, but a lot of times we have to go backwards. And sometimes we're lucky. The ideas we have are able to sync with the solutions that we need to bring to life. But sometimes that process also helps us refine our ideas. It also helps us go from ideas to prototypes. So now you have all the pain points people are going through. And don't worry, I'll show you some models to concretize what we're saying, and hopefully round up in like another 30 minutes. And when we go through the entire process, we see so many moving pieces that we start to understand what a valuable prototype would look like. And at the end of the day, we go from prototypes to better decisions. So that is what design thinking helps us do. Now, we'll be going into the next part that talks a little bit about the fundamental, and I'm sure some of the individuals from Future Map Foundation, they're already used to this. Some other participants as well. For example, Mazino will be used to this already. It's called the Double Diamond Design Thinking Framework. I think it's a better framework to track your design thinking process as opposed to what you see mainly online. You can find the Double Diamond and Design Thinking framework online, but most times you see define, empathy, empathize, define, whatnot, right? But this gives you a little bit more of a better framework. I'm happy to take any questions at any point in time if you have a question. Also, while I'm moving into the next side of the presentation, if you want to tell me what assumptions you've had in the past that you had to change or be patient with, you can also interrupt the meeting, but I will proceed. All right, now let's talk about the process, which is going to be our spine all through our interaction and when we're done as well. And again, you can search these things on Google, but after the process, I'll work with the Future Map Foundation to also create, send this presentation to the team and ensure that these tools are downloadable as well. All right, so we'll be talking about the process spine. That's the backbone of this entire conversation, which is the Double Diamond Design Thinking Framework. Right, right now you can see it on the screen. You can see Discover. That's two triangles, and I'll explain. I'll lightly touch upon it because we don't have so much time. But again, I will share it. You can see two triangles connecting together. You can see points A and points B. The entire process wants to help us do something very simple, to take us from point A, which is the things that we do not know but could be. So let me explain what I mean by that. Is right now we do not know for certain what the solution of a problem is. Excuse me. But we do know that there are possibilities. So that's what we mean by don't know what could be. We do not know for certain when we start with a brief that this is exactly how we'll solve that, but we know that there are possibilities. That's what point A is. Point B, which is what you see on this side, is that when you've gone through the entire process, you've been able to have diverging, like diverging and converging and diverging and converging, will I say, mind frames. You then go through the entire process. That now, when what then happens is you now know what you do know, and you know what should be. So on one end, we're talking about possibilities. On the second end, we're talking about being definite, because we know exactly what we're trying to solve. And now this process is broken down into, yes, what you probably are used to already: define, discover, define, develop, and deliver, and so many sub processes. So one thing I would like to leave you with that is very important is, number one, at the very beginning, you do not need a convergence mindset. It is best to stay away from having a convergence mindset. A convergence mindset means, instead of you opening your mind to different possibilities, you are zeroing down on a solution. And that is what the double diamond, the first diamond, helps us do. It helps us have divergent mindsets, which we're reaping the brief, and we're trying to research and understand what the real problem is. So even though we got a brief that says we have voters apathy, now we're like, okay, let's talk to voters. Let's have a primary research. Let's have a secondary research. Let's read the brief apart. Is the brief correct? Design thinkers should never just receive a brief and run to solution mode. You have to validate the brief. You have to rip it apart. And that is what the very first step helps us do. The second step now starts to converge your ideas, where you've seen so many problems people are facing, and now you're putting it into insights. You're trying to find, you're trying to, which is here, you're putting it into insights. You're trying to see what are the commonalities in this. After we've spoken to different people, we've observed different people, and again in the next phase, I will then show you another model on how to engage with people, either by observing them or by spending time with them, right? And this is what you do in the first diamond. You're ripping the brief out. You're speaking to people. Then when we get here, sorry, I still have the flu thing. Then when we get to this particular stage, which is now our definition, we're synthesizing. Oh, we spoke to 100 people, and out of 100 people, 60 people said they have a problem with standing on queues at the hospital. We start to see that that is a common problem. Out of 100 people, 20 people or 10 people say that they're not able to get the right drugs on time. You start to see how you can prioritize and see what is common. And that is what design thinking helps you do at the definition stage. It helps you then take everything that you've seen and start to cluster them into themes, so that you can even start to reorganize your priorities and come up with the opportunity areas. Because in as much as there are so many problems faced by so many people, there will be the things that you need to prioritize first. And that was what we failed to do in the products that we built. We had the technology, but we didn't prioritize the right capabilities first. And when you do, you then go into a process called how might we? Because now you've gotten a brief, and now you're like, hey, there's more to this brief than what meets the eye. Now let's refine the brief to how might we? So instead of saying the problem is that people do not like to vote, now how might we get people to trust the process? It's in asking those kind of questions you really truly find value on what to solve. How might we make the process easier? How might we make people find their polling units faster? Those are the kind of questions that we now ask, going from a problem statement, voters' apathy, to questions. How might we do this? And now once we have that, now remember, we started with a very convergent way of thinking, which is like we have to talk to a lot of people, get a lot of data. And then we now started converging again, which is, okay, with everything we've seen, what are the commonalities? How does it meet? What meaning can I take out of this? What opportunity areas exist? And now what questions would I rather be asking myself? Now, once you've done that, you have your questions. How might we fix the trust system in the voting? Now you start another divergent conversation, which is now ideation, which is this part called the develop. Now, and this is where a lot of us we excel already by default, because we're very good with generating ideas. The human beings are extremely great at putting themselves in people's shoes and generating ideas. So we get to this point where we are developing ideas. Oh, should I build an app? Should I deploy educational materials on channels or on NTA? You know, should I have town halls? You bring out different ideas. And in this point, you try not to limit yourself, because again, it's another divergent way of thinking. You bring in too much ideas. You work with people that have context, people who do not have context. You tell them what the problems are, and you gather a lot of possible solutions. And when you do that, you're now ready for the last diamond, which is another convergent thinking, which is you evaluate those ideas, you see which ones could be the most effective, you see the ones that have the most potential, the ones that will touch more people in the target demography that you're interested in, and then you build, you test, you iterate, and I mean, you also do something called prototyping. And prototyping happens in different ways. Sometimes we think prototypes have to be very clean and well done. No, we've built apps where before the prototyping is just sketches on a board or sketches on a piece of paper. We've done prototyping where we're acting, for example, if you say it's a service, we act the service as a prototype. And when you're done with that, you then now know that, see, on everything I've seen, everybody I've spoken to, every brief I've torn apart, everything I've synthesized, and every idea I've generated, and everything I've decided to build, I now know for certain that I've gone from point A to point B. And there are so many things in the middle, and that we now know that that's the solution we need to deliver. Let me go back to our main notes. And again, please, if you want to say anything or ask any questions, you can let me know. I can easily add a note for you. All right, so I'll just summarize with this. Discover phase, I mean, that summarizes this particular section. The discover phase helps you move from assumptions to real understanding. You have to listen to people. You don't also only have to listen. You know, sometimes people will tell you something and their body language will say something entirely different. You also have to watch them. You have to see how they react. You have to see where the real pain is. And then you have to then understand that you also have to understand the world that they've quietly just accepted. You know, sometimes as users or people who feel a certain pain towards a certain thing, we get used to it. So I'm used to going to the airport, flying to Abuja, and I'm used to the fact that that at the counter they will tell me to go and measure my bag somewhere else, go and pay somewhere else, bring the receipts to somewhere else, and also I'm used to it. So every time I come to the airport, I will do it. But that doesn't mean it's the right thing. But if Airpeace wants to do things differently, they will most likely already have someone collecting payments where they are measuring, because, hey, this is already 2 kilograms or more. Let me pay, confirm your payments, and take it straight to the counter. It stops the back and forth. That's what makes design thinking extremely, extremely beautiful, is that we need to understand who they are, what pain they're going through. We have to listen to them, we have to watch them, what they do, and understand the world that they've already gotten used to. The second thing is that we have to define. We have to move from scattered insights to finding a problem that is really worth solving, frame the challenge in very simple human terms, something that we all can understand. Then we have to develop, move from one obvious answer to many possible responses. So like we have to sketch, we have to imagine, we have to combine things, we have to act things out and push past the first idea. Then lastly, to deliver, we have to move from ideas to evidence, to test, to refine, to improve before you commit too much time, money, or energy. And I think I'll just conclude this particular page by saying a premise is not the truth yet. Empathy is how we test our premise against human reality. So even though sometimes we can be very quick and say, hey, yes, I want to reduce the queue at the hospital. Now, we have to, first of all, go to a hospital and watch people and see why the queue is there in the first place. Yeah. Again, if you have any questions at any point in time, you can let me know while we move to the very next tool. Now, we speak about, and this tool, remember, we're here in Discover. We've gone through the entire thing, but now, what tools do we need to discover to be able to discover the real value by speaking to people, there's something called, there's so many tools, but the one I will show us today is a tool called the empathy map, right? The empathy map just does one thing. It just makes us really be able to ask the right questions while talking to the people that we're solutioning for. So that this is a person, and everybody has pains and everybody has gains, right? So we need to just be able to understand that for this individual, who are they? Who are we empathizing with? And this is a model we have to religiously follow. But yes, we can also add our own taste to it. We need to understand who they are. Who is the person? What situation are they in? You have to write these things. You have to take note of them. What is their role in this situation? So, for example, David at the airport coming to Abuja, who is he? David is someone that works in tech. He travels a lot for lectures or for consulting for government agencies in Abuja. What situation are they in is that David always takes the first flight because he needs to catch up a meeting. And the situation he's in is that he has come to the airport for a 6:30 a.m. flight, and the time right now is 5:30, and I want to pay for my and I want to check in. But then they tell David that his box is too heavy, so he has to go back, pay somewhere else, come back, give the confirmation, and then before he checks in, before he's done, he's tired and so on. And once he has missed his flight, what is their role in the situation? His role is that he is a simple traveler that just wants to travel, right? So now those are the kind of stories you need to tell when using some of these tools. It is not just about writing one-word answers. And I know sometimes we just find it difficult to engage people, but sometimes you have to get into the crux. You have to ask the questions. Now, secondly, is like, what do they do? What do they need to do differently? David needs to travel easier. What jobs do they need to get done? What decisions do they need to make? And how will they know that they are successful? So those are just questions you have to ask in creating, in engaging the customer you're building for. What do they see? What do they see in the marketplace? In the marketplace, what I see when traveling is that when I'm in Kuwait or when I'm in America, this doesn't happen to me. So I see that it's different in the marketplace. I see in my environments that travel is really, really hectic in Lagos or in Nigeria. And what do they see others saying or doing? When David is on the queue, he sees people frustrated as well. He sees sometimes a family of 4 also frustrated about the same thing, right? And what are they watching and reading? So those are the questions that we need to ask. Then we have to also ask questions and see what they see. What have we heard them say? What have you heard David say about travel? What can we imagine them saying? Sometimes we also have to imagine that, hey, look at their body language. What are they saying? What are they not saying? What do they hear? And who are we empathizing with? Okay, we've done that already. And then at the end of the day, all we're doing is that we're trying to make a conclusion, is that what do they think and how do they feel? Because you need to understand David's pains, which is what is his frustration, his anxieties, his fear about traveling, and what are the gains? Like, what does he want? What does he need? What does he hope? And what does he dream for? And a lot of times, sometimes David is already fine with what things are, and he doesn't even know that there is a positive or there's a potential of possibilities to a better world. So you need to be able to uncover these things to be able to create a great service for David. And yes, I've been saying David. This is all of us in different ways, shape, or form. Think about the last time you went to a salon. Think about the last time you traveled on the train. Think about the last time you had to buy something at a supermarket. What are the pain points that you're used to, but you shouldn't be? And that is what design thinking wants to help us do. To use the right tools to be able to get into the crux of the matter and solve it, even when the individual doesn't even know that there is an opportunity for life being better. Some of the things that I'll just take reading my notes before I move to the next thing. And again, like I said, this particular tool will feed into discovery, because you are discovering what is the right thing I need to do. But for you to know the right thing to do, you have to be able to understand what the people are going through. All right. So I'll read a few notes from my a few things from my notes, and then we'll go into the next section, and hopefully in another few minutes we can make progress. I know that we've taken quite some time already. All right. Empathy is not a soft skill. It is a discipline that protects you from building the wrong thing brilliantly, and that is very important. Now, I think Sikirat, now back to you. Are you here?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now, because we have your own, and don't mute, because I think I would like us to have a brief conversation. Because we have your own use case of what you're trying to solve. Remember, I said we should stay on the problem. Now, I have a question,
Yes,
which is,
sir.
pick one person that you are designing for, and tell me one thing they will say in their own words, not yours. Yes, sorry for putting you on the spot,
Okay.
but I think
Please, sir, I didn't get the question.
yes. So you've told us the problem that you want to solve with your product called 1 second. Your product was called
Okay.
AirPath, right? So we know the problem. Now, my question is very simple. Pick one person that you are designing for and tell us one thing they would say in their own words, not in yours. So, right now you're already telling me the solution in your own words, but no. I want you to tell me one problem that you think they would say in their own words. I don't know if you understand.
Okay. Are you talking about the user persona?
Yes, your user persona. So tell me one thing they will say in their own words about what they are going through.
Okay. Okay. So one of the user we have here is Aisha Ibrahim.
Okay.
So all right, we have Aisha Ibrahim, and one of the frustration Aisha Ibrahim mentioned is shortage of staffs in the clinic and long and unpredictable waiting time to see the doctor.
Okay, thank you. But
So
now say the same thing, but say it in as if she's the one saying it.
okay. I will just say, okay, I face, whenever I go to the hospital, I usually face this challenge of like appointment booking takes a whole lot of time, and it is frustrating for me. And sometimes I have some work I have to do, like some work pending at home, and I just want to rush to the hospital to see the doctor. Then I will have to wait for a longer time to book appointments.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So that's the point of what we're trying to go to, is to ensure that we are seeing these problems from the voice of the individual that we're solutioning for, not ours. And that was why I needed to illustrate that. From that point of view, every one of us can connect to Aisha Ibrahim already. That she says, whenever I go to the hospital, I usually face the challenge of appointment booking. It takes too much of my time. It is frustrating. Many times, I just want a quick appointment. Now, from the person's real problem, you can start to think about, okay, what are the possibilities, the potential of creating this solution for this individual? I'm thinking about cigarettes. That's fine. You can mute now. All right. And again, I'll reiterate that empathy is not a soft skill. It's a discipline that protects you from building the wrong things brilliantly. Now, when we're done with, with being able to empathize with that particular model that we've used, there's another model I will share towards the end of this meeting, but I'll just show it to you, because the model right now we've used is when you can interact with the person, when you can meet the person, you can speak with the person, you can interact with the person. But then sometimes you have to observe from a distance. So for example, if you are in a train station in Kano and you just want to see the shortfalls sometimes you don't have to go talk to everybody. You might just have to look at what is happening and take notes. So there's something else called the field observation canvas, and I'll also be sharing that with us. Right. So now that we've discovered what the potential problems are by putting ourselves in the shoes of the individual, we now see that the next thing to do is to turn those insights into a problem that is worth solving. So for us, what we're trying to do here is go from the initial problem statements that we've mentioned to an how might we problem statement. And the format for a problem statement or a how might we problem statement is who the user is. So user, that's now user, which is David, needs a way to travel more comfortably, because we've seen now the insight or barrier, because we've seen that luggage measurement and payment is a hassle. So that is how we start to move from insights to a problem worth solving. Right? And think about it now in Aisha's case is Aisha needs a better way to maximize her time, because we see that there's often long queues at the hospital. A good problem statement is short, it's human, and it's rooted in what you've actually heard. The user is specific. That's why I said, tell us who the persona is, Aisha, David, or Oluwaseun, or Shoaib. Specific. Now need, the verb. What do they need? What do they need to do? What do they need to have? What do they need to see? What do they need to enjoy? And then the insight is something that the user will recognize as true. Because now the insight is like, David wants to travel. David wants to reduce the hassle of baggage payments. So for example, let me give you an example. And these are like things that we've kind of like seen in real life. Before we have, we have a persona called, and this is a coincidence because this Aisha was on the board before Sekirat mentioned Aisha, and this is like a real person actually. So Aisha, a market trader in Balogun, needs to find a way to access short-term credit for restocking, because every option she has been offered asks for documents she does not own or a guarantor she does not know before. That is the problem statement. And now, when we are able to go through this model of understanding who she is, her aspirations, and using some of these tools, we then see that the reimagined or reframed solution or question to ask is, how might we help informal traders like Aisha access trust-based credits without paperwork or proxies? So, and that's what design thinking really truly helps us need to do, is like ask the right questions. Don't just come with assumptions. All right, we'll be moving to the next stage. Now, in the development stage, there's something called the value proposition canvas. Now you've understood who the person is. You already have a good understanding of who those people are. Now you want to be able to map, like, hey, based on the problems they face, based on the things they want to do, their hopes and aspirations, do we have a fit in our solution? And that's where you use this particular model. I won't spend so much time because I think our time is already really gone. But I'll just say and take from some of my notes is, once you understand the problem and you frame the right problem, we now need to have a design response. The value proposition canvas helps us connect what we are building with what the person actually needs. So on one side, you can see the person's wants and needs and hopes and dreams. What this tool just helps us do is to articulate what happens when we flip it. So when we flip it, we ask ourselves a question: our product, our service, what are some of the gain creators? Like, what are some of the joys and benefits of using our product? When you look at their pains, frustrations, and fears, when you flip that, you need to answer questions in your product about how do you remove the friction of fear as the pain relievers. And when we think about the customer's job, what do they want you to do? They want you to reduce the friction that they feel at the what they call it now, at the airport. So now if you flip that, what does your product or service help people do? Does it help people measure and instantly help them pay for their excesses? And so that's just what this model helps us do. right? Yeah, so I think we'll just keep it there. Again, when I'm sending this particular presentation to the, a summary of this presentation to the general team, I will put in a whole lot more academic, will I say, instructions of how to use some of these tools. Okay, so we'll proceed now. Now, as I get towards the end of this conversation, like I mentioned, this particular webinar is not meant for us to know everything end to end. I will definitely share the tools that you need. I would also share insights on how to make them work. But I would also just touch on in the next, let's say, 10 minutes before we end, some of the extra tools that you might want to use. Remember when we were in the definition, or rather in the discovery stage, which was here, I mentioned that in this discovery stage, sometimes you have the opportunity to meet these people one-on-one and ask them questions, but sometimes you're not able to. What are some of the other tools you can use? Is there something called the field observation canvas? And I'll just zoom in a little bit. So for here, instead of talking to people one-on-one, you're looking at people generally, and you're taking note of their activities and behaviors. So what actions and behaviors are being observed? So if we're at a what they call it now, at an airport, like, yes, even though we spoke to David in particular, we drilled down into David to find his frustration about his luggage. But first of all, we look out. We see so many people. We see David's, we see Aisha's, we see Shulomi's, we see Muhammad's, and we're just writing, we're just observing. We're not interfering with their process. We're watching. You see how one person goes from this place to go and pay, and goes to another place to confirm to get their baggage, or rather their flight ticket, right? You just take all those notes. You see where the pain that they take without talking to anybody. You see some of the environmental factors. So maybe the airport is not arranged in the best or in the most optimal way. You take those things down. You see their emotional reactions. You see somebody fighting at the counter that, no, my baggage is there, I've paid already, and now you're telling me I should pay another one for 1 kg. You see all those things, right? You see the workarounds and adaptations. If you've ever seen how sometimes someone's luggage is too heavy, they in the airports, in public, they open their box, they are removing some things to try to put in their handbag. Those are workarounds and adaptations. You take note of all those things. Then you now look for the key insights. Okay, what patterns are emerging? Are people fighting at a particular place? Are people doing this? Are people do people need to go to a POS to go and withdraw to come and pay cash? And then now you start to say what your opportunity areas for improvement are. So that's what this tool helps you do. It just helps you see things on a bigger picture. So on an average, sometimes you can do this model first before you now see, okay, you want to speak to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people and go deeper, and then you use the empathy map. But that being said, everything just links to everything links to the divergence the divergent side of making sure you are designing the right thing. Excuse me. All right, so customer journey as well. I'll leave this tool with a lot more info about it when you guys get access to this link. The customer journey just now says, hey, at every different touch point of my app, at every different touch point of my service, at every different touch point of my intervention, what are some of the things that my customers are going to experience? Stage 1, coming into the airport. What David will have to put his box inside one machine. Okay, what does he do? What are his emotional status, etc. So this just helps you capture the entire journey so that you know where to make improvements per time. Yeah, I won't stay so much on this. And lastly, is business model canvas. I'm sure a lot of us are either business individuals here or entrepreneurs and are familiar with the business model canvas. But the reason why I always talk about the business model canvas within our conversations is because for you to have great ideas, build good apps, build great companies, there has to be a sustainability factor. It's either it needs to be able to make money, it's either it needs to be able to make impact, or have the right partners, have the right revenue streams, have the right cost structure. So this, in a way, just helps you also keep track of your solution or your intervention as a business. And even if it's not a business per se, if it's maybe an intervention or something another third party will pay for, like maybe you're doing it for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, even though it's not being paid for by the customer, you need to have an idea what the cost structure is, what impact is being made, and that's what the business model canvas helps you do. Yeah, I think the last thing we'll capture is now something I called from insights to narrative. And this is where a lot of design thinkers or sometimes solution experts or even people who teach design thinking miss out. Is now you've spoken to people, you have real insights, you have the right solution. So excuse me. You have the right solution. Now you're building the right solution. Excuse me. How do you tell the world the story? How do you put the story into the product? Because it's very important that a product wouldn't just only work. People understand what it does. You're able to, sorry, excuse me, please. I beg your pardon, I needed to grant access to someone. All right. Yes, really sorry for that. So just backtracking on what I said, you need to be able to pitch the ideas to investors. You need to be able to market your idea. You need to be able to even market your idea not just to the public, but to the people you're developing. And so I came up with a framework that puts that into practice. So now you understand your premise, where you started from. And remember, everything you've done so far feeds into it. You've been able to, you started with a hunch that, hey, people are tired of queues at the hospital. And now you've been able to verify that against the premise you had. And now you have a real human reality. You've been able to innovate for it and come up with the solution, an app, an intervention, a process, whatever that thing is. Now the last part is to communicate it. How will people understand that the solution matters? Investors, the customers, etc. I came up with a particular model called convention, vision, and disruption. Now, what does convention say? Conventions tells us that this is how the world is without our intervention. So you start to see that the world without our intervention is a broken world, a world where people, travelers are frustrated, a world where people are frustrated about standing on long queues, a world where data doesn't have meaning to people, or the data cannot help people make the right decision, or a world where then let's go into some other simple things like fashion, a world where people cannot buy the right product at the right price, and for Airbnb, which I'm sure maybe we definitely know the company, their convention was, you can't really truly belong in a place you do not own. So now we know that. And now we've worked on a vision because now we've created this product that solves the root problem. Now our vision should be able to flip that world of convention that says, hey, even though people cannot buy good clothes at the right price, now we see a vision where we want to take people to a world where they can buy the right clothes at the right prices. And what we're going to do is now our solution. We're going to create a product that does X, Y, Z. And so now for Airbnb, their convention was you can't truly belong in a place where you do not own. And their vision was to create a world where anyone can feel at home anywhere. And their disruption was to help people belong anywhere. And that is the same way, or the same thing we do with design thinking, is that the convention helps us discover the real world. And that's if you read here, what people have learned to tolerate become visible only when you observe carefully and ask the right questions. Vision they develop, it helps us create a vision, a better world that is named through ideation and synthesis. The frame you choose decides everything that comes after. And disruption basically is, is what we're going to do to deliver it, which is the strategic response that is real only when the prototype works and it's in someone's hand and the model survives contact with reality. So that is what communication also does. So now you can create your adverts, you can create your product walkthroughs, because you can tell people in your product walkthrough that, are you frustrated about airport travels? Do you often have to pay at the counter just to find out that you're overboard? Now we've created a new service, a concierge service to help you do XYZ, right? Download the app today. That is what the entire design thinking framework also helps you do, because you're uncovering real true stories as well. Now, this is the concluding slide. I think we have just one other one. Is with all that is being said and done, and I know that this particular session is a little bit too short to be able to go into your own personal work, but when I share this, I hope you will draw parallels with the work you're doing. But now I would want you to apply this to something you're building, be it data, a new way of thinking of calling data via API, or you're working on a product to help hospitals or to help markets. Is I want you to be able to apply this model to something you're building. Take an idea, a product or a service or something you're working on right now, and walk through it through these 5 questions. Ask questions like, what's the idea? In one line, what are you building and for who? If you know the who, talk to them. You need to understand, what did the person say? What are some of the things that they say? What are the things they don't even say? Try to uncover what the real problem is and ask questions like, how might we do this? Because when you go from the brief of people have voters apathy to how might we make you feel more comfortable with voting, or how might we make you understand that your voting counts, or how might we help deliver your PVC in a quicker way, you then are able to put the user in the center of what you're doing, and it makes them understand that somebody really cares and makes them open up. And now you're able to build the solutions, the real solution that matters. Now for our last slide, I'll just say that designing the right thing is as important as designing that thing right. And basically, the goal is not to create something that is just impressive. The goal is to create something that is true, that is useful, and that is loved by people that you've made them for. Now the question, we'll just go back to the room, is what's the right thing for you to design next, and how will you ensure, or how would you know that it is done right? Yeah, so thank you. I think we've come to the end of this. I hope it will be more participatory, but I think we can take the next 5 minutes if we have any questions. And if not, I think by like Monday, I would have had this link published for anyone to be able to go through it and apply some of the models. You will be able to download the models, and also I'll write some instructions for each of them so that it can be something you can always refer to. Thank you. So over to you, Feature Map team. Do you want to go around, ask people questions, or do people have questions that we can just go straight into? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. David. That was an excellent presentation. I think for me, this is not the first time of having to be in one of your classes. I have had the privilege of being in your classes. I think everyone here today will attest to the fact that despite the timing and then the short, just like you said, for us, it took us 3 days or so to be able to do this, and it's much more better for a physical session. But I believe you've done, I think, excellently well. A lot of things can be to do, and then I want to personally thank you on behalf of the Future Map Foundation team for taking your time, and also for willing to work with any of our fellows who is building something, to give them the opportunity to work with you with what they're trying to build. That's a very big one, and I think I would urge you to be able to take up this advantage, because it's a very big one to have the opportunity to work with him. And before we come to the question, another thing is to thank you with the link that you promised to make available for the fellows to be able to let them properly understand what we have taken them through this morning, now afternoon. I believe one of us might have one or two questions. This is the time to raise our hand for the questions for Mr. David to help us to address them. Thank you very much. Any question, please?
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. It seems there is none. Okay. Okay. Adamu, you can go ahead.
Hello, David. Good afternoon. So
Good
happy to
afternoon.
see you again. So happy to see you again. You know, I can relate to the last year's design thinking workshop that we had. A 2 day. It was very very insightful. I joined this meeting to you can never be tired of design thinking. You know, you're always learning how to design your thinking. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. My question is, some of us here, I mean, are solution providers, and going through your presentation, I feel like it's also very important to people who provide services, even if you're not, uh, you're not designing something tangible, something people see. It's just service that you provide. So how do you think, if you can explain in 1 or 2 minutes, the importance of design thinking to service providers, to professionals like us, and the mix? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, and thanks for the question, and extremely valid question. So, regardless of if what you need to do is a product, tangible products like a phone or a product like an app, even though it's a service, it's still the very same principle. Is at the end of the day, for a service, like, and in fact, most of the examples I gave were even services. Like, if you are thinking of doing a concert service to help someone like David or whoever to fly better or fly easier, it's the same principle. You need to understand what are the pains that your service, not just your product, because the method of how you deliver your solution is, how you deliver a solution is just a method. It's either an app or it's a commercial, or it is a whatever that thing is just a method. So the same value chain of the design, thinking double diamond framework still works for a product. The only difference here is, which often happens, is how to prototype your ideas so that you can test with the customer. And because even though you are not, for example, if it's an app, you can draw an app, you can do a wireframe on Figma, or you can show a product requirements documentation or whatever. Okay, you probably not always do that, but for like in the process for a service, how would you prototype it? On an average, you would see that for you to prototype it, you would sometimes have to act it out. Sometimes you have to find how to concretize the service that you're prototyping into even things like wireframes, or even things like videos, or like you might have to get in front of a camera and act as if you are about to offer a service or whatever it is. So for me, I think my answer to that question is that it's the same pattern, but where things start to look interesting is how you then iterate, or develop your ideas and iterate them, which would require many more ways like storytelling, and interactions, and acting things out. Yeah, so I think that's where I'll leave that. That's for now. I hope I was able to touch on it a little.
Yeah, you did, David. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
if I can share an experience that I do, that how I prototype, my
Yeah.
service. Okay, so I'm a lawyer, and as a lawyer, all you do is you get all kind of problems, and you need to your client believes you have the solution to it, and design thinking is a very important model for us, to design and see how you can come up with a solution to the client. So what I usually do is I sit down and talk about solutions, the solutions that I think are going to solve that problem that the client has. And then I sit down with the client and say, okay, these are the solutions to your problem, and these are the options that we have. And then all the cons and pros that add to each and every one of the solutions. We talk it through with the client, and then we agree, okay, this is the best possible solution. I feel that can be a form of prototyping, for that kind of solution providing, to 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 walk through your clients and then make sure that that's the best solution for the problem. Yeah, thank you so much, David, for that
Thank you. I think
response.
that method is also extremely important, which is just walking through possibilities and potential. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot for your insights, Adam. Any other questions? Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Benzo. Sorry, we are barely hearing you. Very, very light. Can you try to adjust your mic?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Okay, so I was actually appreciating the Future Map team for this opportunity, and also appreciated you, Mr. David, for these great lessons we have learned. Thank you very much, sir. All right. My question is concerning the business model. How do you actually get a good model when it comes to there's understanding the problem, and also how to build solutions that will actually work, and then to be able to know the business model that would work for that solution you are creating. So I don't know, how do you actually see the opportunity and then get to exploit it, so that probably to avoid failure in future? So I think you mentioned one thing that it's not about just creating solutions. It's about seeing if that solution would actually make waves, or probably solve that particular solution, that problem. So my question is, how do you get a good business model for solutions you are creating? Hello, sir.
Oh, apologies. I was actually speaking. Yeah, I was muted. All right. So thanks a lot for the question. And I think I'll first of all start by saying that the design thinking framework, or perspective or mindset, will first of all, in its true form, it will first of all give you a lot of the context you need to build a solution to a problem that is worth solving. And let me tell you, for you to be able to build anything for anyone, first of all, you need to understand, okay, who are these people, and will they ever be able to pay you for that solution? Instead of just, a lot of times we create solutions and just hope that somebody will pay us for it, somebody will subscribe, that somebody is going to think, oh my God, I need this. But design thinking lets you understand who these people are, what they're able to pass with, to be able to, to pay for the solution that you could bring to the table, because that also then starts to make you realize that, okay, people might not pay a subscription for this. Maybe they'll pay a one-time fee, or maybe people will not pay at all. But instead, we want to get more people to be on the platform so that we can make money via advertisements or via linkages and placements. Right. So what design thinking helps you do is to uncover so many things beneath what what could make a good business. It's not necessarily going to define what your business model is. It will give you all the insight that you need. For example, it will make you understand your customer segments better, right? Who are the people that you're working for? What channels are you going to communicate with them or deliver the value proposition to them? So, for example, is it an app? Is it in a kiosk at the hospital? Is it going to be via digital channels or physical channels generally? What are the relationships that you want to establish with your customers? So the business model, in a way, is just another way to articulate from a business point of view what you would uncover during your design thinking framework. Your revenue streams. Okay, how are you going to generate revenue? So now, Securat wants to reduce the wait time at the hospital. Who is going to pay for it? Is it going to be the government? Is it going to be the individual on the app? Is it going to be a subscription-based model? So these things just help you articulate and be able to track, and also then be able to, so at some points, it also helps you course correct. That's one thing I should also mention. For example, if one of the things we see as a priority customer is maybe a professional worker or something for a particular solution, and we now find that those people don't want to pay. Now the question is who can pay? Who is an aggregate of professional workers? Okay, maybe we should go to their insurance company for them to be able to pay for this service. All right. Generally, I would say, to your question, I might not have a direct answer, but design thinking will actually help you have the most viable insights to feeling what the best business model you should be attempting to start with or to experiment. And because you're still going to always have the insights in the markets that you developed, you can always course correct with that. Yeah, so I think I would also just leave it there. Sometimes these questions don't have direct answers. However, if there is a specific, will I say, solution you're working on, it's something that I'm happy to connect sometime next week as well, and we can see, what business model might work best for something like this. All right, Ebenezer, apologies, I'm not able to verbatim answer you, but yeah, please.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
I know. Any other question? I think we can take one more before we call it a day. Alrighty, I think that's about it. I'm happy for us to adjourn now. Over to the Future Map team. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. David. I think at this junction, I think I want to welcome some of the team members who are present here. And if they would like to say one or two things, we have with me, which is also part of the project lead for this initiative of Future Map, which is Future Tech Fellowship, and person of Mr. Mubarak Yusuf is also in the house with us. And I think the executive director of Future Map Foundation as well is also in this session with us, and I would like him to say one or two things as well, and then we can all call it a day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Abdul, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to use this opportunity to register our sincere gratitude and appreciation to Mr. David for finding time out of his busy schedule to be part of this session. And I believe all of our participants are going to be able to register in their brain some of the key aspects of information that they've gotten from this session. So Mr. David is a trainee of a design academy in London. So this is a privilege for all of us that are part of this session to be able to learn from a lot of the things that he has mentioned. I would also want to use this opportunity to ensure that we've taken this knowledge to the grassroots. Mr. David has always been an advocate of seeing how we could be able to design to solve and also to design to solve the problem that really matter to all of us. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks everyone, and I'm happy to share some of these things. I think on Monday, and I think it will be self-explanatory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
All right. Everyone.
Thank you, sir. So I think in the absence of any other thing, we can call it a day. So next month, by the end of next month, we'll also be having another session. We'll also be having a fantastic host who will be talking about critical thinking with us. And hope to see you guys this time again next month. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Please do have a lovely
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm sorry for the interruption. I don't know if we can get the recordings, please.
Yes, the recording link will be made available to you by Monday but I don't know because now there is also salad break around the corner, but before the intros, I will be able to make it available.